My name is Jeanette, and I want to thank you for joining me on the channel Jane Reads. So today is August the 1st, which means it is the start of the Keep Me in Suspense readathon. And I haven't fully decided how I'm going to log and talk about the books I'm reading because I don't want to do like daily vlogs. Not going to happen. Sorry, my life's not that exciting anyways, so I wouldn't have much to entertain you with. But I want to do check-ins fairly often so that my end of month wrap-up is short, really. So I can have wrap-ups kind of as I'm finishing the books. So do I do a wrap-up as I finish a couple books, or do I put it in a regular basis like Anne from In Search of Wonder does, like a weekly reading vlog every Sunday morning, kind of what she's read that week and what progress, or she's in the midst of some books or something. And I'm like, maybe I could do that. But my problem is my computer is older, so editing and exporting and then uploading takes quite a while. And with work and stuff, I can't be doing... It would be a couple days behind from when I finished, like when I go to edit it. So I'm like, I don't know about that. So while I figure out what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start filming clips talking about the books I'm reading. So the physical book that I am reading is Bridge of Gold by Kimberly Woodhouse. This is part of the Doors to the Past series. I am on chapter 3, I think. Nope, I'm on chapter 2. Okay, I guess I read one chapter today. Yesterday, technically. I started last night. Yeah, okay, I need to get some more reading done. I have met both... No, we haven't got to the present day timeline yet. We've only met Luke from the 1933 timeline, and I really like him. But I'm sure something happens to him, and I'm like, I think maybe that's why I don't want to keep going, or I put it down yesterday. I mean, I put it down because I had to go to bed, but I haven't picked it up at all today. I've been distracted with other stuff. I filmed my July wrap-up, hence the reason I reminding myself I want to do shorter check-ins with less books. So yeah, so I did that today. We went grocery shopping, stuff like it's just been one of those evenings. And so I haven't read yet, but I'm getting ready to go and lie down in bed and I'm going to read for a while. So yeah, we've met Luke and I'm liking him and I really like the way it opened, the book opened. So we'll see what goes on. I started the audiobook of The Road to Paradise today, which is the book club with Tammy from Protagonist Pub. And I'm about 6 chapters into that one, I think. And again, I'm liking the main character, Margie, and I'm invested and want to know, like, why is she trying to escape from Philip? What is going on with that case? Like, why? What's that situation? So I got to dig in a little bit more. So that is my reading update for today. I will check in again tomorrow, and hopefully I'm much further than chapter 2 when I check in on this book. Hello, it is now Sunday afternoon and I have an update for you. As you can see, I've made it to pretty much halfway. I'm on page 151, starting chapter 12, which means I have 100 pages left. Okay, so in regards to this, I'm enjoying it, but I'm not fully invested and I kind of don't want to continue, mainly because I really like the historical character and I'm really worried that something negative happens to them, and I'm scared that something negative, really bad happens to them, and I'm kind of like, I don't want that to happen. So that's why I'm kind of reading it slow, I guess, because I'm concerned about that. But I mean, it's good because it's making me invested in that character and I'm concerned for them, right? With the contemporary timeline, I like them. I like the way they banter, Stephen and Kayla, back and forth. And there is a note at the beginning of this book from Kimberly Woodhouse that the characters' names are based on her daughter and son-in-law. Yes, daughter and son-in-law. Yeah. Are Stephen and Kayla. So that's kind of cute. Okay, so that is my update for now for this book. However, I just have an information update, and I have some books to share. So we went into the city yesterday, Saturday, to check out some thrift stores, to go for a couple fish stores because my husband wanted to buy some new fish for the tank. And we were meeting up with a friend because he was giving me his old cell phone to use for recording. Because my current cell phone that I was using 2 weeks ago, the battery started swelling on it. And I mean, it was an older phone, the contract was up. But the battery started swelling on it and I couldn't use it anymore. So I had to get a new phone. Well, my plan was to use that phone for recording because the other phone that I had for recording in the past was my old cell phone that was at least 5 years old, if not more, but the camera was starting to go. And that's the one that I was fighting with on focusing and stuff when I did my TBR game for the overhead shots. And that's the only reason I really needed 2 cameras, is because when I do any overhead shots, and I don't want to constantly move one camera back and forth, so I have the 2 of them. And so he graciously offered me his old cell phone because he was getting a new one as well. And I'm like, sure, why not? So we met up with him, wandered around a thrift store with him, just had a relaxing day. And so I went to 3 thrift stores and the Christian bookstore. And when we were trying to figure out how to get to one of the fish stores that Andrew wanted to go to, we were coming from a different direction than we normally do. So I was looking at the map and I'm like, hey, there's a thrift store right there. So we went in and oh my gosh, the book section was huge. And so I was having a record of buying 1 book at the thrift store as we visited each store, I bought 1 book. Well, this other one had a lot more books, so I walked away with 2. I mean, that's not a big record, but considering I was getting 1 at all the other ones. Okay, so I'm just gonna go through them. I'm not gonna show you the book that I bought at the Christian bookstore because I bought it as a gift. And actually, when we were checking out, the owner was checking us out, and he's like, you've already bought this book. And I said, yeah, I know. And the funny thing about it is I've now bought it twice, and I still don't own my own copy physically. I own it on my Kindle. But I bought 2 physical copies, and both of them have been gifts for somebody. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna, the way they're in my hand. So I found Attempted Mountain Abduction by Jessica R. Patch. And this one just came out in June 2025. It says it's a love-inspired suspense. And really, I wouldn't have picked it up because of the snow. Like, that kind of turned me off. But it was $1. And it's a new release. So I'm like, okay, I have never read Jessica R. Patch, but I've heard really good things about her. So I'm like, I want to give her a try. And it says, the only way to escape hitmen in pursuit is through the icy wilderness. So I think I'll have to read this in winter. Then I found Long Way Home by Lynn Austin. This has been on my want to read list for a while. I've heard a lot of people really praise this book. And I've really enjoyed the books by Lynn Austin I've read so far. So I thought, why not? And, oh, I was going to read you the little tagline at the top, but the sticker's over it. So this was $3.49. Couldn't pass that up. Then I picked up Nightfall by Nancy Mal, and you'll see it's $9.99, but actually I only paid $2.50. This is the Christian bookstore tag because I recognize the tags. And it was $2.50, and it looks like brand new. Like, yeah, it's not damaged at all. And I've heard Amanda talk about Nancy Mal a lot. I did read one book by her a number of years ago. It might have even been her first book. I don't know. A number of years ago. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but this is a newer book, and Amanda has really talked her up. And if I remember correctly, she enjoyed this book, so I thought I'll give it a try. And it says, for any little boy or girl who hears the trained man speak, who feels his rancid breath caress their pretty cheek, must close their eyes, pretend to sleep, and very softly pray, or else the evil trained man may carry them away. Okay, that's a little freaky. I did not read that yesterday. It is book 1 of the Quantico files, and I like romantic suspense, so we'll give it a try. A lot of the books that I had seen were book 2 or book 3 of different series. I didn't own the earlier books, so that's why I only picked up a few. And the other one is Everywhere to Hide by Siri Mitchell. And it says, how does a woman protect herself from an enemy she can't see? And as I was reading the back, it sounds like, so it's like the killer has every advantage. Though Whitney saw him, she has no idea what he looks like. He knows where she lives and works. He anticipates her every move. Worst of all, he's hiding in plain sight and believes she has information he needs. Information worth killing for. So I don't know. And I feel like I've seen somebody hype this book up. I don't remember who. Maybe it was Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails. I'm not really sure. But yeah, this is the one that I picked up. So these are the 4 books that I added to my TBR, and it feels very appropriate that 3 of them are suspense in August because it's the month of suspense for me with the Keep Me in Suspense readathon. So those are the 4 books I picked up yesterday. And today, this afternoon or this evening, we're meeting up with friends to go out for supper. I don't know what else we're doing. I probably won't get any clips because I don't tend to film when I'm with friends, but we'll see what happens. That is the update for Sunday, August the 2nd. No, August the 3rd. It's August the 3rd. I do know that. It is late Monday evening now, and I just got off hosting my first live reading sprints, and I was nervous to do it, but I was excited to do it. And Caitlin from Chronicles of a Book Nerd joined me for the first hour, so that was really fun, and that kind of helped me kind of get started and get into it, because at the beginning it's like, well, what do I say? What do I talk about? But then kind of as we got going, it just felt natural, and as people commented, I could reply and talk. And so I want to thank whoever joined in because it was fun, and I hope I finished the book. I know a couple other people finished the book, so that's amazing and exciting. And I will definitely be hosting again sometime this month because I had fun. And talking about finishing books, so I finished Bridge of Gold by Kimberly Woodhouse last night or early this morning. I'm counting it for Sunday night. But it was like almost 1 a.m. when I finished it, but I'm still counting it for Sunday night. And as I kind of was going throughout the book, at the end, I was definitely much more invested in the historical timeline with Luke and Margot in the 1933 timeline than I was in the present day. I enjoyed the present day, but I didn't care about the characters as much as I cared about Luke and Margot. And in the present day timeline, we're following Kayla and Stephen, and Kayla really grows through the course of the story, and we see her she's really struggling with something at the beginning, and then by the end we see her kind of find peace. And the conversations the 2 of them had about food and the amount of food the 2 of them could put away, wow. I am not a huge eater, so like them talking about like eating like dozens of eggs and stuff, I'm like, whoa, wow. But yeah, so I really like the historical timeline and the kind of the way things all came together, and we find out what happened, because I was really concerned for the historical people of what was going to happen with Luke and Margot. And then when it was revealed what happened, like as we get to learn more of their story, I was like, okay, it's not as fearful as I was worried. But there were moments that was like, oh boy, oh boy. But then the kind of the reveal happened at the end. Now, it could be the fact that it was almost 1 o'clock in the morning. But I was like, wait, who? What? Where did that come from? So then I had to go back and like, okay, and kind of try to piece it together because, yeah. So I'm giving it 3 stars. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't as invested in the present day timeline as I was in the historical timeline. And then today was Civic Holiday Monday in Ontario. Canada, I think it's, but it's one of those holidays where some people have it off, some people don't. Some people consider it a stat, sometimes it's not. Like, it really depends where you work. But my husband was lucky enough to have it off, and I had it off. So today we sat and worked on planning for our vacation in the fall. And we kind of knew where we were going, but not exactly what we were doing or where we were going to stay, because we're doing a road trip. I mean, yeah, it was kind of obvious we were going to do a road trip of some sort. We just didn't know our destination exactly. And we knew the destination for a while, but, you know, kind of figuring out all the little details of that. Now we know kind of where we would like to stay each night, like what communities we'd like to be in, and kind of ideas of what we're going to do as we travel along the road. We just need to book hotels now. That is our next plan. We looked at a lot today and have a good idea, but we just need to confirm all that. But that's pretty much what we spent the day doing. So I feel like, even though I wasn't at work, I have sat all day in front of my computer, because I did that most of the day, other than like cooking, supper, lunch, and breakfast. Oh my gosh. No, I guess I didn't cook supper because we had leftovers. The other day, I made homemade hamburger helper in the crock pot, and it is one of our favorite meals. And because we were out with friends yesterday and on Saturday, we had leftovers today. So it worked out perfect. And then, so we cooked breakfast and we cooked lunch because it was a long weekend. So we always have waffles and strawberry and like homemade waffles, strawberries and whipped cream for a meal during a long weekend. Like, it doesn't have to be breakfast, doesn't have to be lunch, right? I don't think we've ever had them for supper. But sometime on a long weekend, we have them for one of the meals. It's kind of become a tradition. So we had that today. We had those for lunch yesterday as well. But yeah. Okay, so then, what was I saying? Oh, yes. So then during sprints, just before sprint started, I started Out of Time by Lynn H. Blackburn. This is a novella for the Defend and Protect series, and this gives you kind of Hope's romance story, and we meet Hope in book 1, which is Unknown Threat. And so this is her kind of romance story, and I started it just before sprints. I think I read like maybe a chapter, 2 chapters, and then I finished it during sprints. And I have 2 quotes to share. And where are they? Love chooses to see the best in someone, and it makes that choice every single day. And then the other one is, love is hard work. We're sinners who choose to love other sinners, and we're going to mess up. So yeah, this was a fun story. There is like a bit of a mystery suspense going on. Somebody has been killed, some kids go missing, and it kept me hooked. But I really like the relationship, the friendships, because we see Sabrina from the Dive Team Investigation series. And then we see I think all of the special agents from the Defend and Protect series. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed it. And there was one part near the end that as I'm reading, I jumped because of what happened. So I gave it 4 stars. It is a novella. It's a quick story. Things are wrapped up very quickly. But I really enjoyed it. Then I started The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. I only got a chapter read, but as I said on the sprints, this is not a book that I should be reading like at 11 o'clock at night. Because I need to concentrate and think. And especially because I'm going to be joining Krista from Books and Jams and a few other ladies with the live chats that are going on Sundays. And so we're going to be talking about it because this is Krista's read-along book. I want to be taking notes. I want to be thinking about it and paying attention. And it's not something I should be reading late at night. And the next book that I will be starting, because this is the book that won the poll picked that was on my TBR, so Because You're Mine by Colleen Coble. Basically, what I know about this is it's a marriage of convenience story, but not a positive marriage of convenience story. That's basically what I know. From what Caitlin has told me, it is filled with twists that you wouldn't expect, and she really enjoyed it. So hopefully I will enjoy it as well. We'll see. So that is my update for Monday evening. Meatball subs for supper tonight. Just a quick update to say I have made it to 75% in The Road to Paradise by Barnett, which is the book club pick for Tammy at Protagonist Pub. And I am really connected to the characters of Margie and Ford. I really like them. Margie comes from a senator family, very wealthy, and is now working at the Mount Rainier National Park. This is in the 1920s, and Ford is the head park ranger there and really doesn't want her to be there at the beginning, but as the summer has progressed, they have started falling for each other. But Margie has an ex, Philip, who is wealthy in his own right and feels like Margie is his and is doing everything to get Margie to accept his marriage proposal. And we're seeing what's going on, and we're learning about the start of the national park. So I'm really enjoying that story, and it's my audiobook right now, and I do not want to stop listening to it. I am also making progress in The Case for Christ. I've made it to chapter 4. I'm reading 1 chapter a day so that I can kind of really soak it in and understand, because I'm finding it to be a dense read and I really need to pay attention to what I'm reading, which is expected in a nonfiction book. And then I did start Because You Were Mine by Colleen Coble. I think I'm about 100 pages in or so. I don't have the book beside me, so I can't check. So yeah, I've met the main characters we're following. I don't like some of the choices that she has made, but I understand why she's made them. But things are not as they appear. I am positive of it. I have a suspicion about somebody, but I don't want to say what that is because I could totally be wrong. Plus, I don't want to spoil the book for you. But I'm kind of hooked a little bit to find out what's going on. But I'm more hooked to The Road to Paradise at this moment, which is partially the reason I do not read more than one fiction book at a time, because I get connected to a story and I want to keep reading that story. But that is my update for now. I am off to go get my hair cut, just to trim, but my bangs are too long for my liking, so they need to be trimmed. That's it. All cleaned up. Much better. Much better. Update time. And the first book I'm going to talk about isn't even one of these books. I finished A Road to Paradise by Barnett. I was listening to this on an audiobook because that's the only way I could get a copy of it. And I really enjoyed this book. It's 1920s in Mount Rainier National Park, Washington. And we are following Margie, who is the daughter of a senator and who has come to work at the park, wants to be a ranger, starts working as a naturalist, but then somebody starts impeding her progress to work there and kind of feels that she is supposed to be with him and starts kind of blackmailing in a way. Then we have Ford, who is a park ranger, who is the head park ranger, whose father passed away and he took his dad's position. He struggles with some of the position and he's battling kind of nightmares with his father's accident. And the two of them are very different. They come from very different backgrounds because Ford grew up in the national park. He is not wealthy, but this is like the only place he knows. He's never lived in the city. Margie is from the city. So they're very different. Margie has a very strong faith in God. Ford grew up in church, but is struggling because God took his father away. And so they're very, very different from each other. But I loved the way they worked together and how Margie could show Ford the beauty in his surroundings in a way that he had never really thought of or experienced before because it was just normal to him. And then with the villain guy, who is a true villain, like there was no redemption for him. And it was like, what are you going to do? How are you going to get out of this? And how are you going to deal with this blackmail? Like, how is Margie? Because we don't want Margie to just accept what this guy is doing to her. And I really enjoyed the way it kind of worked and how Margie and her father were able to get her out of this situation and kind of stand up to this guy. I really liked it. What I didn't really enjoy about the story so much is it starts at the beginning of the summer season in June, and then something happens, right? Like we're following the day-to-day of them a little bit, and then 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later, like it just kind of, there was big gaps in it. It does end October and then December-ish. But, so, I mean, it's not like years are in between, but it's still, I wish I'd see more interaction between Ford and Margie before it led to where it led. And a little bit of the physical attraction or physical interaction between them was a little bit too much when they hadn't really decided how they felt towards each other. So I think I've landed on a 4-star, but this is the first book I've read by this author, and I definitely want to continue this series. Even though this series does not pick up with any of the same characters, it's set in another national park, so a different setting and stuff, but I really liked the writing style, the way the story was told. It connected me to the characters and just the setting of the national park. I am not an outdoorsy person who wants to go on long hikes and look at nature and stuff, and really explore the backwoods. That is not me. However, I do really enjoy looking at nature and walking like just the easy trails and like stopping at different overlooks along like a highway or something and kind of seeing the nature in front of you. I enjoy that. So I enjoy visiting state parks, national parks, provincial parks, like all that kind of park stuff just for that reason. But give me the easy hikes. Okay, so I finished that book and I'm giving it 4 stars. Then I have continued in The Case for Christ. I've read chapter 5. I just have one more chapter to read before Sunday's chat with Krista and a few other ladies. So I'm not going to talk a lot about this book. I was reading it only physically, but I was struggling with a little bit of it. It's very, very dense. And so I did pick up the audiobook to listen to as I was reading it to kind of keep me into it. And so, I mean, I'm getting a lot of information out of it, but I'm not all that interested in some of the information. So we'll see. I'm hoping it gets better for me personally. I think it's a great book if you're into history and all this kind of stuff that it's talking about. But I just feel like I believe what I've read is true. And I've grown up in a Christian family. And so I'm not looking for how true is this? Did they embellish? Did they? I just believe, like, yeah. And for Because You're Mine, I am at chapter 14, so 115 in, and it's 350, 360, 320. I was off. So I haven't made it much further than last time I talked to you. I don't think I've picked it up since the last time I talked to you. So what's her name? Alana, I think it's Alana, is kind of learning a new living situation, and I don't think things are as they appear. I think there's more sinister things in the background. But I don't know that fully. I suspect somebody isn't who they're portrayed to be. I really like Alana's best friend in the band. I cannot think of her name. The band is C. What is the friend's name? Do I know? Oh, and there was a mention of snakes in here. Feeding snakes to an alligator. And I don't care that you have an alligator or in the pond or whatever, but you don't need to tell me you're feeding snakes to them. Yeah. I cannot find her name right now. Oh, Sierra, I think. So, yeah, I just really like the friendship and the way that she's kind of, are you sure? You're questioning her and she's suspicious. And I feel like I feel her. I align with her thoughts. So that is my update for now. It is Sunday evening of August the 10th, and this will be the last update I'm giving for this vlog because I'm going to start a new one after I finish this clip. So what I have decided for the month of August, I'm going to do weekly vlogs with my thoughts of the books as I'm reading them, and then my end of month wrap up, which will be up beginning of September, will be very quick, just an overview. But if you want more in depth, you can come to each vlog where I talk about each book, my experiences as I'm reading them. Okay, so the book that I finished earlier today is Because You're Mine by Colleen Coble. This is a romantic suspense, released 2017, I think it was, I'm pretty sure. And I've read a bunch of other books by Colleen before. This one, not my favorite of hers. I don't know if I'm giving it a 2 or a 3 star at this point in time. There were things I did like about it, and I was invested in the story for parts of it. Then there were other things that I was like, I just did not like, and the ending really ruined it for me. But let's chat. With the writing, there were certain things I was like, wait, what? And this is the one that really stands out to me the most. So Fiona and Sierra headed to the parlor, still talking to Barry about the schedule for the upcoming tour. Richard and Patricia strolled after them, discussing protecting the seashore. And then she found she was alone with Patricia, so she could get to the truth. Wait, didn't Patricia leave the room with Richard, who followed Fiona, Sierra, and Barry? I read this a couple times and I'm like, she wasn't left alone with Patricia because Patricia had walked out of the room. So that was kind of annoying. The other thing is we have a character who grew up in a foster family. Her mom left her when she was 3 in Ireland. She grew up in Ireland with the foster family, and like her mom left her in Her mom was Irish, left her in Ireland. And then it's now 25 years later. So the character is approximately 28 now. And she is in America. And she is trying to find her mom when she's home in Ireland. Okay, the main of the book is set in America, in Charleston, South Carolina. But this character had been home for a little bit and was told that her mom had moved to America 25 years ago. So that was shortly after the character ended up in foster care. Then, now, present day, 25 years later, the main character is in America and finds her mother in America. But then her mother says, well, your grandfather is here. And he just happens to live not that far away. Okay, so I had a couple issues with this because there was no mention of the mother having an American connection at all until it was mentioned that she moved to America 25 years ago. But that was her connection to America. She moved there. So now her mother's grandparents are in America. Okay, fine. But then I was like, so this is the 28-year-old character. It would be her great-grandfather that's living just a few doors down, like a few hours downtown, I don't know, in the community anyways. Her great-grandfather. Would he still be alive? Would the mother's grandfather still be alive? Like, I didn't do the math for the ages and how old they would have to be to get, but I was just like, it felt like a real stretch to me. Okay. Then there was just choices that people were making that I just felt irresponsible. So we're in South Carolina at an estate, and there is a pond on this estate that has a gator in it, and knows that the gator's in it because there's been mention of feeding the animals to the gator. Okay. This character leaves the house at night to walk the grounds in the dark without a light, without shoes. But they've remembered to put on insect repellent. Really? And then they end up in the water and have to be rescued by from the gator. I don't know. Just choices. And then we have an injury that happens. Someone is stabbed in the chest with a knife, and they pull the knife out, but then they're walking around and helping and being involved in the situation that's going on like an hour or so later. And seems to be, they're struggling a little bit, but not like what you would expect from a chest wound with a knife that is bleeding. Yeah. Okay. Then we have discussions of somebody possibly being possessed by somebody else, or spirit taking over somebody else. Maybe not possessed isn't quite the right word. Discussions of somebody's spirit going from one person to another. And this is like kind of the story that's being believed for a while. Yeah. Now, there is kind of a mystery that's going on a little bit that seemed very obvious from the beginning. Like I said, I suspected something. I was right in my suspect. And I think you're led to believe that as well, I think. But yeah, there was just so many issues. So yeah, I do not recommend this book. It was all over the place and just had issues. The more I talk about it, the more I kind of get annoyed with it, which makes me think it's going to be a 2-star. Because I would not read it again. I will not recommend to you to read it because it is not one of her best works. And you just really have to be like, and then like the ending, I was left with the ending. Well, what happened to so-and-so? Like, yeah. So yeah, this one is being added to my unhaul pile. And that is it for now. It is time for me to decide what book I'm starting next, but I'm not going to make the decision right now. That will be the start of week 2 of August, and that will be in the next vlog. I should have recapped what I read this week. Okay, so what I read this week physically, I read The Bridge of Gold by Kimberly Woodhouse. I read Because You Are Mine by Colleen Coble. I read the novella Out of Time by Lynn H. Blackburn. I read 6 chapters in The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. And my audiobook was The Road to Paradise by Barnett. Yes. So that is what I read this week. Out of those, my favorite was The Road to Paradise by Barnett. I just absolutely love that one. And I sat and listened to it when I wouldn't normally sit and listen because I'd usually be doing something when I've got my audiobook. But yeah. Okay, that is what I read this week. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.